Today's workbench, we've got an Eduard Bf109e-4. It's 148 scale, and we've got the Profit Pack edition. The Profit Pack edition, I think, is well worth a buy. The weekend kits are still good, don't get me wrong, but the Profit Pack, which I'm going to show you in a minute, get nice instructions as well with Eduard kits. But with the Profit Pack, you get a bit of photo etch, which always comes handy because you've got a lovely set of instrument dials there. But more than anything, which is what I really like with them, you get a masking set for your canopies. Love having these, a lot easier. So we've got a sense, I'll show you the decals here. We've got a sense of nice kit to build, and we'll get cracked on with it. And I'm hoping we'll do it a nice bit of justice. I have actually done another Eduard Bf109. I did it in the Africa scheme. So I don't think I'm going to be doing the Africa scheme on this one. I haven't quite made my mind up which, but they are all like European anyway, what you can actually do with it. But in fact, it might even show me. Yeah, you've got your schemes here, look. I do like lots of yellow, as you can see. And it all depends on what I fancy doing when I get going into it. I don't like the idea of white instead of yellow, because I can't say I've ever built a BF109 where it's got white tips. That might be interesting, that, to be honest. But yeah, we'll get cracked on, we'll get this one built, and we'll see how we do here. Right, you start off as usual with these. You're building up the internal cockpit area, and there's a few plastic parts, but mostly a lot of this is going to be your photo etch, as you can see it on the bench there. But the normal plastic parts, I'm just sticking with my Tamiya. You can see the photo etch here. I'm putting some bits in that, and you can just see to the right hand side of the frame. That's where I use a little bit of wire to dob onto a little bit of super glue, and I just put little tiny drops on where I want it to sit. I find that's the easiest method, otherwise I get super glue everywhere. And I have got the super glue remover, but in all honesty, I'm not that good with it. I seem to make more of a mess than out. The photo etch parts for me can be a bit tricky, but I just work with it steadily. You do have to scrape off some of the detail. Sounds a bit daft, but you have to do it if you're putting the photo etch parts on. What I will say is that if you get the Weekend Warrior, you don't tend to get as much photo etch stuff with, and that's where them parts that have already got the detail on them, you're just keeping that as it is. I mean, you do get a hell of a lot of parts with these kits, especially the Profit Pack ones, because you gain all the bits needed to build quite a few variants. A few more photo etch parts here just going in. They do look well when you paint them up, I must admit that. They look absolutely fantastic. I mean, you do get some photo etch parts that are already painted. I mean, at the minute, I'm just spraying some Mr. Surfacer black primer. I use it all the time. Just so that I'm going to get a nice, even finish for all the paint that's going on. You know, so you've got your plastic parts and your photo etch. And here you can see I'm using some RLM02. Now, this paint, you've got to put it on in thin stages, I find. Try not to flood it too much. As you can see, they just sturdily work it up and then build it up. It's the easiest way to put this on. If you try and put a lot on, I don't know why, but it'll just dry, and it can actually like get crack lines in it. Nobody wants it where your paint looks like it's peeling and cracking apart. So no, nice and thin, even lines with it, and I find it works well. And this is some of the last bits of photo etch in the cockpit that I'm finishing off now, and as you can see, it's the seat and it's the seat belts that you're putting in now. I always think they look fantastic, photo etch seat belts, way better than how I can make myself with masking tape and that. Again, finicky, but it is worth persevering with. It really, I find it is anyway. A lot of people won't touch photo etcher. I can't blame them at times because it does my head in. But yeah, you can see there, it does look well once they're in. A lot more realistic. There's a few more bits here you can see. These are the ones that are already coloured. And just assembling a few of the part pieces that you've already made up, ready to go. And you can see there's some more photo etch there that you can see on, and I'm just putting the instrument panel on. You've got about, I think it's 2 or 3 pieces with these instrument panels. You've got like a clear piece goes all the very end of it, and you've usually got a couple of bits go on before. It just helps fill it in. It makes it look really realistic. It's fantastic detail, to be honest. So now I'm going to do up the engine, and it ain't got a lot of photo etch out like that on engine. Most of the engine is just plastic parts, which it's handy for me. And that just sits in lovely. It's all got perfect lines, slots and grooves for the parts to sit into, and I find that's brilliant. I hate it when you get kits and there's nothing, it just shows you a bit of an arrow pointing, and you've got to kind of guess exactly where these parts are meant to fit. Yeah, you get them in end, but most of the time all you're doing is trying to figure it out, photos and stuff like that. But yeah, great. Eduard are great kits for this. I am using my Tamiya extra thin. I normally use my Revel one, but I'm just using what I've got there to hand, to be honest. And here you go, I'll show you now how I do these parts. You can see you get, I think that's, but it's super glue I've put on, and now I'm putting this face bit on, which is with the dials themselves that you put on. You've got to be careful because obviously super glue is going to go off fast as well. So you put that on like that, and then the next piece will have the clear instrument dial sections on them, so it looks really authentic. I try and make sure when I'm doing that, you can see now I'm just putting little tiny bits of super glue on areas where there's no dials or out like that, where you're going to ruin it if you put it on it. And it's just there. They're very small parts, very, very tiny, to be honest, when you're messing with them, but it does work well. The more modern cockpits and that, they've got a heck of a lot more instruments and dials and stuff like that in them, but yeah, these are good. And while I'm doing this, I'll just explain why I've been off, away, whatever. I started this kit in October, and for about, I were alright to start, happily working away with it, and then for about 3 weeks I ended up with a cold, flu, whatever you want to call it. Felt really bad, and I had a really bad cough. Couldn't do any videoing, it's not possible with cough I had. And then after that I ended up with a, well, I'd say toothache, but it's turned out to be a tooth abscess I've got. So a lot of pain, really didn't feel like modelling. Christmas come along, before you know it, I've had a month away from actually doing any real modelling. I've not done nothing hardly. I'm now okay, waiting for tooth abscess to be fixed with dentist. That's just one of them. But I've not got the cough. I feel good in myself, so I'm back modelling again, and that's why I'm finishing the kit. I mean, what you're seeing here is what I was doing in about November time. So, but yeah, bit of time away. I'd like to say it's done me good, but I've missed it. So I'm happy to be back. But there you go. That's just that. Back to kit. Right. Getting the actual hull piece, well, the fuselage pieces together now. And what I do is I always try and clean off any edges where me Tamiya extra fins are going to go. Just a bit of IPA, isopropyl as they call it. Bit of that on a cotton bud, and you can just wipe away any excess paint. Just makes it stick a little bit easier. That's if you want to do that. You can use whatever glue you want, but I find Tamiya extra thin sticks easy when you've got neat plastic against each other. But yeah, you will see I have put the decals on for the actual engine itself, and you'll see at the end there's no decals. I did that, filled all the area with blue tack ready for spraying and everything like that, and like usual I make mistakes, and I've forgotten to put some varnish on top of it. Because of it, when I've took the blue tack off, they'll disappear, them decals. Just one of them. It's no great loss really. There you go. It does look well though, I must admit that. It's a lovely little engine you get with it. Right, everybody who's watched my videos knows my favourite thing to break on any of my models off before I finished them is machine guns, cannons, stuff like that stuck out. But in all honesty, it's quite a decent part that. It's not really long stuck out, so I'm taking the risk of putting it in now, and hopefully I won't break it. But yeah, anybody who knows me will know that that's one of my faves. I just put these together, just make sure everything's lining up right, and just use a bit of the extra thin down each seams. Just go around them doing that. I mean, I used to put, and I still do sometimes, quite a bit of glue, as in the thicker glues between the actual parts, but in all honesty I've never had one come apart just doing it like that. These are the flaps and that putting in now. They look like they're not fitting right, but they are. They look, you'd think, oh, they have to sit right in, but they don't sit all the way, and this is how they are. Just have to make sure you press them in though, that's all. And again, the Tamiya extra thin's fantastic for it. Right, another classic mistake from me, and I forgot to put the framework for the undercarriage in. It does just push in. You have to pull it in like that, and it will fit straight in. But yeah, again, I'm not perfect. I'm no super fantastic modeler that never makes mistakes. I make mistakes. I'm willing to show you making mistakes. I know some modelers won't. They'll hide it. But no, not me. I will show it, and that way you know that this is what can happen. And sometimes it helps people avoid doing what I did. We've got some more photo etch. That's all we'll ever seem to have is photo etch with this one. But yeah, these parts, they're just going on here like this. And you've got a piece to go at the back as well. They're pretty simple. You can see me little plastic top what I've had off a whatever food container, and I just keep putting my dobs of super glue on that, and then I use, like I say, my little piece of wire just to make sure I can put the right amount on. These could just start topper when you've got your photo etching. I mean, the lovely detail when you've got the photo etch, but half the time, as you can see there, it disappears. You've got these covers going over it and stuff like that. I mean, you've got this one here that folds down a bit, and it's brilliant. It looks fantastic, but you can see the back part of photo etch there is near enough gone now. But yeah, they just fit in like that, and then you've got another piece that just fits to the bottom of it. That one like that. And that's it. You've near enough made up all your wing sections now. Just make sure you get it lined up to how you want it, or how it should be, should I say. And that to me is a very, very simple, easy enough. Oh yeah, forgot that bit, but a very simple, easy enough way. Again, a lot of detail in there, a lot of difference. You can move stuff about, and it does look really well. These fit together absolutely beautiful. Slot straight in like that. There you go. A little bit tighter at the front, but we're not saying tight that you can't get it in, because it's not. Just needed a little bit of a push, but you can see there's not a lot of seam line there at all. And I mean, there's some kits you get, my goodness, you get the wings and the seam lines are so big you're filling them with couple of kilo or pound in Britain, but filler, it's that much you're putting in, it feels like. Tail section's easy made up, as you've seen there. The wheels, this again, 3 parts. You've got the actual tyre, back part of the wheel, and then that part just sticks in. There is a little pip there when you're putting it in that it does stick to, makes it a lot flusher. Just make sure you get it right. The undercarriage itself is very easy. Couple of parts, that's about it. I think there's another small rod I've got to put on it yet, but that's it. They never seem to have a lot of detail these days on these. But then again, if they put too much on, because they're very fine, the wires and stuff like that you have on them, they put too much detail on it, they just tend to break off, to be honest with you. Again, we're back to the Mr. Surface 1500 black. Yeah, you see I'm using my Krios PS270 airbrush here. It's really, really good for fine detail, really good. It's probably up there with one of my favourite airbrushes. I do like to intermix them and swap them around a little bit if I can. But you can see it puts down a lovely coat, but it's not a big coat. As you can see, it's not spraying tons because it's not a very big needle in it. It's not a 0.5 or a 0.3, it's a 0.2, so it don't put mass amounts down. And this is it opened fully up. A little bit of the RLMO2 now in the undercarriage areas, because that's what it tells you on the kit it's meant to be. You can see I've already sprayed some because I've done one finger already. But yeah. I've noticed there's a gap appeared here. So before I go any further and start and trying to spray any actual undercarriage colour and stuff, well, underside colour, sorry, and stuff like that, what I'm going to do is get a bit of filler and put it in. It's only a small gap, and this Vallejo plastic putty fills these tiny gaps brilliant. Bit of a wet cotton bud, it wipes off straight away and fills them up lovely. I'm using this ammo set here, you can see. This is where most of my paints are coming from for it. And this is the underside colour I'm going to be doing now. Wait. I've just take my cap off for it because it stops it from dry. Well, they do dry. It dries up quite easy, this paint. Just makes it spray a little bit. I feel like it's a bit neater. You can get closer to the actual kit itself without it seeming to make a mistake with me. But anyway, carry on. I'm spraying this, and you can see I'm spraying it on thinly, not going mad. Again, this paint needs to go on thin. Dries pretty quick, so you can go straight over it pretty quick. This time for airbrush, I'm using the pistol grip Galleri one that I got. I have done a video on it, and if I remember, I'll put a link up with this when I edit it all fully and everything. But what I found, what I did try before with the which one was it now? It was the last airbrush actually. Well, that was the Krios. It was a little bit harder to control. I don't know why. Maybe it was me or what, but I've decided to use this instead. And although it's got I believe it's 0.3 needle, this, it's absolutely brilliant. You look at it, it's lovely for doing lines. Lots of control. So yeah, I've found it absolutely beautiful for it. Well impressed, I really am. But that's another thing, that's about airbrushes and okay. Yeah. We're moving on. Move on to the next part. Now, blasting down the main colour, as I'd say now, before I start and mask off for the top side colours. And you can see I've already got some maskings on the side, because obviously that's the bit that I want to protect. And it does have hard lines as well. It's not like, well, on the kit it's showing you hard lines. It's not like what I'm doing now, I should just be fading it in it, because it doesn't show you it like that. So yeah, we're just getting down some of this base colour here. Again, like I say, nice and thin coats. I know I keep repeating it, but I see a lot of people complaining about these paints, and I understand it. I was same when I first started doing it, and it weren't until I looked online and thought, what am I doing wrong? But you can see thin coats, nice and even, and they do lay down lovely. And they dry fantastic. They dry really quickly as well. I'll also say with these, there is, I don't have to fin them. They are straight out the bottle. I've not finned them, I've not done nothing with them. I am using them straight off, no retarder in them. So, I mean, maybe if you put retarder in, they might be better. But as they are, I like, if it says it's airbrush ready, I like to use it as it is. You can see my masking's done, and just getting down the last main colour now, and then that should technically be most of my main paint down. So tips of the wings and that, they're painted yellow on this. Now I've got a couple of different colours, so just putting yellow on, I'm not saying I will, but I might end up with a bit of a discoloration, might not look right. So I'm putting a bit of white down, not a lot, just enough to even it out a bit before I put my yellow down. I do think it helps. I mean, you could have just put black down and then the yellow on, but I just put the white this time. Now it's brush painting time, and I'm painting up like the exhausts, all different little small parts now. Just the bits that need doing so that you can actually move on to the next bit, which is putting this on, which is Winsor Newton gloss varnish. And I'm doing this now, ready for putting my decals on. I always like to put a bit of a coat. Might look like I'm putting a really thick coat, but this is thinned a real good amount, this varnish. When it dries, you'll hardly notice that there's a out there, it's just be a bit glossier. So I'm using one of my sanding sponges here, and this is my 2500 grit one, as you call it. All that will do is take the little tiny bumps off that are on any tiny bits of dirt or whatever that's in air as I was spraying if it's stuck on it. As you can see, micro set in here, then microsol as well on there, and I'll just use these like that, all filled up, taped off, ready to go, so I can start and put it on like this. Put a nice daub on, it's not going to hurt anything, especially with that varnish on it, it's going to protect it anyway. And we just put those decals directly onto that solution. Try and make sure you've still got a good bit on. Sometimes it takes me a while, and before you know it, it's drying off, but there's a good bit of the solution there. Drag it to where you want, as in, I mean, don't use it, I use a brush mostly. They're very delicate, some of these decals from Eduard. Personally, and I know Eduard's, this is their system, what they do. I wish they'd use cartograph, but not everybody will. It's theirs, and that's that. And try and press out as much as possible of any air solution, stuff like that, so that you get a really nice fit of it. As you can see, I will go over this with the other one, the red one that you can see pen, once it's dried a bit, and then that way it'll help them sink in. And I have removed the films off of these. You can see it's took some little bits off on the actual decal from the underside, but actually it's looking quite nice. It's making it look like it's weathered. But to do it, you want proper white spirit. Just paint it on and then leave it for I don't know, 10-15 seconds, and you just brush it off. It is brilliant for it. It really is. Takes it off. Try and peel it with art. I've done it in the past. You just take half at decal with it. It's not worth doing. Anyway, there's a bit of tyre paint there and a bit of painting little tiny, that red detail. So now it's semi-gloss time, because I'm going to use my pencils to do a little bit of weathering. I'm not going to do a lot. I know I never planned on doing a lot, but you can see them there. My AK weathering pencils. They're a great set. They're expensive. They're a really great set. But you just go around, try and get as pointy a tip as you can. And then you just go around doing this, filling in like where you'd like it to look like it's worn a bit. And any what you overdo, if you don't like it, you can just wipe it straight off with a wet rag, wet cotton bud, anything with a little bit of water will take these straight off. And you can also use like a wet brush to start and smear the stains about and stuff like that. But at the minute I'm doing scratches, weathering, that kind of thing with it. And like I say, you'll see when the kit's finished, I've not overdone it, I've just done a little bit, just as if it's just started to have been used a bit. It's had a few flights. And this is the propeller, sticking it together now, nearly done. we're getting towards end now, as in like the build. Just make sure you get it the right way around. So it needs the part at the other side there. You can just see it where it's sticking into the hole on the front of aircraft. The undercarriage is super simple, it just sticks in like this. It really is a very simple undercarriage. As you can see. Just have to make sure we press it in a bit, hold it in for a few seconds, that's all. Get it lined up so it's right. And I'll just show you, yeah, don't look far off that. Guns to the front now, and they just glue into place. They're just sitting in a certain slot there. Just make sure I turn it a bit right way, and they're just gluing like that. They're not a problem, very easy to do. And we're putting on Winsor Newton flat varnish. Anybody who knows me, videos and has seen them before and all that, know I love this varnish. As I've said it a million times, I get sick of saying it I suppose, and people probably get sick of doing it, but it's my favourite, it's the one I use the most. I think it gives the most realistic finish at the end. Don't ask me why, it's the one that I've preferred for donkey's years. But anyway, getting that all over kit. So now we're sticking the actual cockpit glass, as you say, to the actual kit, the canopy. Get it in the end. Right. So we're sticking that to kit, and what we're using is super glue. Now this isn't something I normally do, but because I've got a part here that's going to hang like this, I need it to go off quick. I can't be sitting putting whatever trying to hold this part in place and hoping it's going to work. So we're using super glue for it. But you saw there, tiny amounts of super glue. That's all it needs. Just enough so that when it gets and it grips, it's done. And you can see there, it grabs it lovely. And I'm just going to put the last bit on now, and then that is near enough it for most of this actual build. I've got one last little piece that will be going on the back canopy once I know it's fully dried, and that'll just be a tiny bit of the Revel glue. You can see I'll stick that on. But yeah, cracking kit. Well, I've explained why it took so long for me to actually finish it earlier in the video, but now I have, I'm quite happy with it. It's a nice kit. Honestly, I don't think I've done as good a job on it as what I did with my other Eduard Bf109, but it's still nice. I am proud of the kit itself. I do think I should do more weathering, but then again I wanted to keep it light. I was, as I've said, not right ill-wise, so I've come back to it. It's like I had quite a bit of a period between it, but I'm happy with it. I mean, it's a lovely little kit, and those the pencils, the weathering pencils, they're good. I mean, I can't knock them, but I don't know, I just don't feel they're as good as doing it with paints and oils and stuff like that. I feel you get a better result. But then again, you can mix them, that'll make it fine. There's nothing to stop you from doing all you want. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, please give us a thumbs up, and a subscribe would be even better. The channel last year has absolutely blown my mind. It's gone completely better than I ever thought it could. And now that I'm fitting well again, hopefully back at the workbench, getting some more done. I've got a new airbrush video to be done soon, because I've just been sent a new one. It hasn't come out yet, so that should be good. And other than that, thank you very much for watching, and hope you've enjoyed this build video, and I'll see you on the next one.